All right, guys, we're here today and we're going to be sitting down with Magdalene Rose or Maggie today, and we're going to be talking a little bit about our musical journey. So, just to kind of get into it a little bit. All right, so you've explored different facets of the music industry. Looking back, what was the defining moment where you felt you truly found Magdalene Rose sound?
So when we set out to write our album, we I think at first we weren't really 100% sure exactly what the sound was supposed to be. Before this, I was in a band with my sisters, and the music was kind of similar. But in 2023, when we started writing music for Magdalene Rose, I know there was still some exploration there because I didn't
Hmm.
know who I was as an individual. I didn't know the music I wanted to create. And I was writing music with my husband, Blaze, and our
Yeah.
friend, Weston. And it was a whole new writing experience. And we had this little shed thing that was converted into like a mother in law suite. And we just
Hmm.
locked ourselves in there and built a studio and wrote our first song and went on tour, and we only had the one original song, and we were playing music that me and my sisters had written before. And
Yeah.
when we got back from that tour, we were like, okay, we need to have more music because we want to have our set list full of our own songs. And
Right.
so we locked ourselves back into that shed and worked on a few different genres or styles of like rock. And
Hmm.
we're trying to figure out how heavy we wanted to go, what things we wanted to say. And I think kind of halfway through writing the album, we released an EP because we're like, okay, well, we need something out there for people to have. And we're
Yeah.
still writing the songs, but at least they can have something while we work on the rest of them. And so we released a CD with, I think, 5 songs on it. And that was kind
Mhm.
of really where we started to hit our groove because we're like, okay, this is kind of like, I don't know, like a sweet spot. We have the heaviness, we have the pop punk elements to it, we have the poppy side of it. And if we can just continue to replicate that in some way, this is fun on stage, it's fun to play.
Yeah.
We like the lyrics behind it. And so we really tried to just continue to push into that and push ourselves to the extreme of either really heavy or really light. And so the album kind of has this like trajectory of like starting out kind of mellow and then getting into some really heavy stuff and then having a little
Yeah.
bit of a break for like that pop and punk feeling and then going back and like ending heavy. And so yeah, I think kind of halfway through the album we really I don't found that sound where it's like, okay, I think we like to mix a lot of things together, and I think that's what's most comfortable for us.
Yeah. So you were like about halfway through, you were like, "Oh yeah, this is where we want to be at. This is my sound right here."
Yeah.
Okay, so that's cool. So your vocal range and your control are incredible. It's like
Thank
like I
you.
said, the first time I reacted to your song, I was just like completely and utterly blown away. I was like, "Oh my god, she has such an amazing voice."
Thank you.
Oh yeah, yeah. What does your preparation look like before a recording session or a live performance to maintain that level of intensity? Because you have an incredible intensity and an amazing emotion that you sing with.
Thank you. Yeah, there's definitely prep work that I have to do, because I don't wanna hurt myself, I don't wanna strain my voice or, like, the, like, forbidden nodes and all of that definitely
Yeah,
scares me. So I have this, like, warm-up thing that I do for 15 minutes either whenever I'm using my voice, if I'm singing for a recording, if I'm playing live, if we're just goofing around and coming up with ideas, I won't do anything without warming up. And
yeah,
there's the physical aspect of it, but now I think it's also like a mental thing. Like I can't do it if I haven't warmed up
yeah,
yet because I'm scared. And so I know if I warm up, then chances are I'll be good. So there's this woman named Melissa Cross, and she's worked with a lot of people in the rock and metal scene and either helped them develop their scream or help them after they damage their vocal cords and are kind
yeah,
of like figuring out how to scream and sing again after that damage. And she had it was just a DVD at the time. I think she has stuff digitally now, but
yeah,
at the time it was just a DVD. So I bought her DVD on Amazon and put all of the warm-ups that she had on a computer, and I would bring my computer with me into the venue and warm up. And now it's gotten to the point where it's muscle memory and I just remember
yeah.
them, so I just do it without the computer now, but I always do that. If I'm recording, I always make sure I've got a water bottle and a cup of tea, and sometimes a cup of hot chocolate, and a
Yeah.
whole variety of liquids to stay hydrated.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just all the things. I Right now we're on tour with Seven Day Slumber, and
Oh, that's
um,
awesome.
yeah, so they they've been really great to me. My husband Blaze is their drummer and the lead singer's son, and so when we got married, they were like, "Oh yeah, just come on tour with us." And they have a bus, which is nice because I grew up touring in a
Yeah.
van, and so I'm definitely being spoiled right now. And so
Yeah.
in my bunk, I have a little diffuser too. It's made for like a car for a cup holder, but I just
Yeah.
stick it in my bunk. And especially now we're on the West Coast and it's so dry out here. So that's been helping a lot. I go to sleep with my diffuser on so I wake up and not super dried out.
Oh, yeah, it helps keep everything cleared out and everything. Yeah, I got you, I got you. Alright, so if you had to pick 3 artists, past or present, who shaped the way you approach songwriting, who would they be?
Um, I think definitely Flyleaf is one of the main ones. I
Lacey
did not
Sturm?
know. Yes, Lacey Sturm, yeah, I did not know a woman could scream or be in rock music or anything until somebody told me and my sisters to look up the band Flyleaf, and at
Yeah.
first I was like, "I have no idea what this is. I've never heard
Oh, yeah.
screaming before. I've never heard this type of music." But the more time went on, the more I was like, "But I have to listen to it again. There's something so intriguing about it." And I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
ended
it
up
is.
falling in love with the band, falling in love with the genre. And so Flyleaf is definitely probably the biggest inspiration, especially being a young girl, seeing another lady on stage, and now with her
Oh,
solo
yeah.
project, and then back with their, like, reunion shows with Flyleaf as well has been really cool. Just as I don't know, just a woman is really cool. Um, there's another band called Bring Me the Horizon that I have loved since I was a teenager, and especially recently, they do a lot of genre mixing, and they have the, like, pop elements, they have the electronics, they have the really heavy stuff, and, I don't know, they have a really fun live show, they are interacting a lot, they actually just sold out Madison Square Garden, which is really
Oh,
crazy.
wow. Yeah,
I
that's
think is
insane.
a really big win for the rock community,
Oh,
just
yeah.
to seeing that build back up. So, lyrically, as a Christian, I don't listen to some of their songs because some of them are very anti-God or stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I understand
But
that. I get that.
as a band, I think they're really cool, and a lot of stuff that they do is super inspirational. And so I think that would probably be number two. And oh, this is a hard one to figure out who would come after that because there's so many bands who have, like,
Oh, yeah.
influenced either a song or a certain time in my life. I think maybe I'll go with a more recent one is a band called Stan Atlantic. They are a, like, pop punk, pop rock band from Australia, and whenever we started to write music for Magdalene Rose, they were a big inspiration because I didn't know how to do this on my own. I didn't know how to be a front woman. I didn't know how to be in a band without my sisters, and I
Mhm.
was feeling really discouraged. And when I found that band, I was like, "Oh, okay, here's another girl who's just up on stage, literally, like, leading this band super strong, and her songs are really catchy, they're really fun." And it just that band found me in a time where I needed to have that, like, extra
Yeah.
boost of encouragement, and see another woman just on stage and thinking, "Okay, well, if she can do it, maybe I can do that too. Maybe I can lead a band. Maybe I can find my voice." And they've inspired a lot of our, like, pop rock style songs or like the pop punk stuff,
Mhm.
because they have super catchy melodies. They have with being able to keep the rock side of it too, and so
Yeah.
that's something that we've always wanted to do. So I think that's been a big inspiration, for, like, the lighter side of stuff.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. Alright, so when you sit down to write, does it usually start with a lyrical concept, a melody, or a specific emotion you're trying to process?
I think it's different for each song. So for that song "Can You Fix Me," we wrote the music for it first, and
Mhm.
then me and my husband sat and we would kind of listen through the music of it and then try to come up with melodies. And then once we had that, then we're like, okay, well, what do we want to write the song about? And we would add lyrics then after. But for our song, Hey, at least I'm feeling something, that one actually started with lyrics. I was writing them, and then the melodies were coming as I was writing the lyrics. And I brought that to our guitarist, Weston, and he was like, oh, let me write something on this. I think I have an idea that fits with this. And so it kind of really switches as inspiration kind of comes to us. But
Yeah,
the most frequent thing that we do is we will write the music first and then add like melodies and lyrics behind it. That way we kind of hear the musical style and like we'll try to figure out like what emotion or what topic would fit best to it.
right.
Um, but yeah, it switches all the time. We are very like inconsistent with our writing process, and um, we just try to really capture inspiration in the moment because we will forget it if we don't.
Oh, yeah, 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 definitely, definitely, and it's probably a lot easier doing it, like, 'cause like you said, you're working with your husband and, like, people that you're, like, really close with, so that probably helps the process even more.
Yeah, it really I was very shy as a songwriter, even with my sisters. I think it helped because it was like, "Oh, I have my 2 sisters here. If I say something dumb, they're not gonna think I'm weird."
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but
So
then going and
no judgment
writing
whatsoever.
yeah, going and writing then, I was like, "Oh my goodness, I don't know how I'm gonna do this." And so to have my husband and some of our best friends in a
Yeah.
writing session, it's just helped me gain a lot more confidence on my own to throw out ideas. And when we first started, I would either like I would text my husband the idea I had because I was too scared to say it out loud, or I'd be like, "Hey, could I just whisper it to you?" And now working on new music, I've found that it's easier to just throw out ideas or say something this time around. So
Yeah.
I think that's really cool to see me as a writer grow, but it's definitely scary still sometimes.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I would imagine so, because like, I'm not one of those types of people that, like, really likes to get up in front of, like, big crowds or anything, but, like, if you get to know me and I warm up to you, my personality comes out a lot more. So, like,
Yeah.
everybody's always like, "You're so funny. Why don't you talk more?" And I'm like, I kinda have to warm up to you a little bit,
Yeah,
but,
it takes me a second to get here.
yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, so many of your songs carry a heavy, often anthemic weight. What is the one core message you hope a new listener takes away after hearing your latest work for the first time?
I think the biggest thing is I want them to know that they're not alone, and I think a lot of the struggles that we have, especially when it comes to mental health, they're just very isolating,
Yeah.
and you don't wanna burden other people, you don't want people to see that you're weak, you don't want people to see you in these vulnerable spots, but then those problems tend to feed on that isolation, and the
Yeah,
problems
yeah.
either get worse or you just can't get the help that you need if you're not asking for it, if you're not talking about it. And so I hope with our music, us being so open about a lot of things will help people find the courage to reach out, or that they'll at least know that they're not alone and that they don't have to be quiet about these things. They don't have to pretend like they're okay or hide the fact that they're hurting. And I want people to know that there are people who genuinely care about them, even if they've never met us, even if it feels like there's nobody in their corner in their life. We're cheering for them, even if we're a country away, and if even if the only way we can communicate is through social media. We're cheering for these people, and their life has value.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it probably helps them to realize too that, like, you're an artist, so like you're in front of a lot of people all the time, you're performing all the time, and to see you go out there and be like, no, look, you're not alone. I understand. I've went through similar situations, so I can't identify with your specific situation, but I can tell you from experience. I kind of know what you're going through. So that's kind of powerful too, though.
Yeah, and that's something that we like to share from stage too. I will, especially when we play "Can You Fix Me," that's a song that I talk about the story behind it because it's such a meaningful song to me. I was struggling with depression and I was medicated, and then my doctor stopped responding, and I didn't know how I was supposed to survive. And
Yeah.
um, I asked God if He could fix my brain, if He could fix my entire life, my heart. Because I was so miserable, and He really came through for me. I've been medication free for almost 2 years now, and
That's
I've
amazing.
Yeah, it's been, awesome, and I've been able to experience so many more things in my life, and so I talk about that song because it is so meaningful to me, but, we want people to know that just because you have to take medication, it doesn't mean your faith is weak. God works through doctors, God works through lots of crazy things. And so it doesn't make you less of a person if you have to take medication. But after like talking about the song, I try to remember to tell people like I may not know your story and your story may not look exactly like mine, but you know, your life still has value and that struggle that you have is very valid. It's very real. And it's important to talk about it. It's important to let people in and trust people. And, you know, I go to my table after all the shows so we can talk, so we can hang out and figure things out. And, I don't have all the answers to life. There's a lot of things that I'm still working through or trying to figure out in my own personal life, but
Mhm.
I can at least listen and I can do life with people and we can work on things together. Even if there's not something that's immediately fixed at the table or at that concert. People keep up with me on social media. We can come up with ideas, and I can say, "Well, have you talked to a therapist? Have you gone to a church that has a counselor? If you're going to church, just come up with different things that we can try and people can have ideas because sometimes it's hard to come up with ideas too if you're struggling. It's just like I don't know how to get out, and so having
Yeah.
somebody come alongside you and say, okay, well, let's talk about it, let's figure it out, I'm willing to do the hard work, I'm willing to have that conversation with you. Sometimes I think that helps more than people just either acting like they know what's going on, or especially if people just ignore the problem, that's not going to help anybody.
Yeah,
So we,
exactly.
we try to make ourselves as available as possible.
Oh yeah, that's awesome though that you actually do that. That's amazing. We've seen the energy you bring to recording tracks. How does that energy shift when you're standing on a stage looking at the faces in the crowd?
I think sometimes live, it's a little bit easier to find the energy to, like, perform, or especially if the crowd is really into the songs or they're really, I don't know, like, just connecting with it.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's easier to pour out even more, and you feel like you've given all you can take on the recording, but then when you go to play it live, you're like, "Oh, no, there is so much more to give," and, you know, there's a little bit more flexibility when it comes to the live show, and I think sometimes the live show can be a little bit more forgiving because it's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
well, maybe that wasn't the exact perfect take you would need for a
Yeah.
recording, but there was so much emotion behind it, and the people there were so connected to it, like, it meant so much more." And that's why I love live albums and live recordings, and I'm
Mhm.
a little scared to do those. I don't know if I'm quite there yet because I'm a little nervous about those,
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
but I think sometimes there's so much energy that's still there to be given,
Mhm.
and you can really harness that through a concert.
That's why like I do reactions all the time. I got, I always do reactions and everything. And a lot of times it's like, music videos and stuff like that. And I don't have a problem with doing music videos, but I always tell people I prefer reacting to live performances because I love seeing the crowd interaction
Yeah,
because that kind of atmosphere is just electric. Like
yeah.
you can't recreate that in a studio. You know what I mean?
Mhm. It's so cool just to see people connecting with it, and, especially if you get, like, a rowdy crowd who's, like, just ready for it, and
Yeah, yeah,
they are here to release some emotions and to, cry with you, scream with you, like, those ones are really cool.
yeah. Yeah, that I bet you that's amazing. I could only imagine. Okay, is there a specific fan interaction or story that reminded you why you chose this path in the first place?
Yeah, we played in Tennessee, at, like, an old theater, actually earlier this year, and there was this girl that came to the concert, and she dressed similar to me, and when I went to the table, I was like, "Hey, I love your outfit," and she's like, "Thank you so much," and she's like, "I'm here with my family, could I talk to you after the show?" And I was like, "Of course, yeah," and they kind of went to the other tables, and she just expressed to me how she was planning to take her life literally, like, a few days before,
Oh
and
my
she was
god.
asking God to give her a sign to stay, and, she was like, "God, I just if I don't have a sign, like, I would rather just come home to you because I'm so, like, hurting so much."
Yeah.
And our show came into town 2 days after, and she was like, "The things that you said on stage were exactly what I was asking God for, and I have no idea how you knew what to say. I have no idea how you knew what to wear, the things that you knew to say to me when I came up to talk to you at the table, but I think you were the sign I was asking God for." And she's like, "Do you have any advice?" I'm like, just hugging her. I'm like, "Can I please hug you? Like, I'm gonna cry
Yeah.
right now." And like,
Oh my
you were
god, I can only
so
imagine.
yeah, just trying to remind her how beautiful she was, how strong she was, and that God still has a purpose for her life, that there's a reason that she's still here,
Oh yeah.
and there are people that she can reach who may never step foot into a church, but they dress the way she dresses, they like her outfit, and that could spark a conversation. And, if they're talking about things that they've struggled with, and she still says that she believes in God, then they may be like, "Oh, how do you believe in God? Even though you've had all the struggles." And I'm like, you have that story to share with people. And yeah, she just left that night feeling more encouraged, and I've kept up with her on social media a little bit, and it's just really cool to see, I don't like a perspective switch and a whole outlook on life switch. And that's just stuff like that happens a lot, and it's not anything I'm doing because I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just up
Yeah.
there being me and hoping that something resonates with people.
Right.
But God is really just working through all of us, and it really takes all of us as a team. Me, my husband, and our two best friends are in the band, but they also are part of the setup crew. Um, Seventh Day Slumber, we're on tour with them. On that tour, we were also on tour with Jason Dunn, who used to sing for Hawk Nelson, and
Mhm.
Nate Parrish, who used to play for Cutlass. And so it's really this big team effort because I think if it was just me, it wouldn't have had that same effect. But having four bands who are just sharing that life is tough, but God is still good, and there are still
Oh yeah.
amazing things to look for in life, and it's important to have hope and to not give up. And all of us just supporting each other in that time, I think really makes this huge impact for people. And yeah, I've been able to see that with other bands as well, and in the scene coming up, or just veterans like Flyleaf, like Skillet, like even like bands like Wage War and Memphis Bayfire, just pouring out this positivity and this love to people, and hoping to change people's lives with the music. And it's just, I don't know, it's always super awesome to see stuff like that, to have those conversations, and it's like, okay, what we are doing is making a difference, and that's all that matters. It's
Yeah.
the music industry is way too like harsh of an industry to try to do it for money and for fame. There's too many of us, and there's not enough to go around. But when you are doing it, and you hear a story like that, you're like, okay, this makes it worth it. There will be a way for us to do this if we are supposed to still be here, and we're supposed to still be talking to people. And I don't know, those mean so much more. That I don't know, those conversations are just awesome to have.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I can only imagine. And it's like, you hear people say all the time, they're like, God works in mysterious ways. Yeah, I mean, you never know because like you said, you just go out there and you're just being you, you're just performing, and the whole time God's speaking through you. And that's
Yeah.
powerful. That's really powerful. Okay, so beyond the current projects, what is a bucket list goal for you in the next couple of years, be it a collaboration, a specific venue, or a new creative medium?
I think it would be really awesome to have a song with Lacey Sturm. That has been on my bucket list
That
literally
would
since
be
I
cool.
found him.
That would be really cool.
So that would probably be at the top of my list. And then maybe just touring with more bands. And I love touring with Seventh Day, and I think it's scary to step out of that. But I
Yeah,
think that would be another goal of ours, is to start doing some more tours. I have no idea if we could even tour on our own, but maybe that. I don't
yeah,
know. All of that is really scary to even think about. But I think in the next 5 years, something like that will start happening, if not already be happening by the end of the 5 years.
yeah. That would be cool. That would be really cool. It's like you said, it's kind of scary because like right now you're surrounded by all these other bands, and you're kind of like in your comfort zone or whatever.
Yeah.
But to take that next step, you got to kind of step out of that
Sometimes you just
comfort
have to do
zone.
the
Yeah.
scary thing, but it's so hard.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. I get it. Um, So you, like you said, you were previously in a band with your sisters, GFM. What was the most daunting part of stepping out as a solo artist? How has that independence changed your creative voice?
I think the most daunting part was definitely just being away and being somewhat on my own. And, I had Blaze and I had Weston who just automatically were like, "Oh, well, we'll step up and be your band." That's not even a question for us.
Mhm.
And I knew them, but it was different going from being friends with them and hanging out and then being on tour with them and like basically
Right.
living with this 12 group of people who I like somewhat know and not being with my family 24/7. That was really scary for me and really hard for me. And I really had to kind of just relearn who I was as a person. And a lot of that process was really difficult and really scary, and finding a voice was terrifying because I never wanted to be in the spotlight. I never wanted to be a solo artist. I didn't want
Yeah.
any of that because it was so scary, and I was like, I would rather just blend into the background. I'm cool with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And God was like, "Nope, I'm moving you somewhere else." And I was like, "Why would you do this to me?" But he's
Yeah.
definitely just I don't know, he's used it to help me grow as a person, but also as an artist, also as a performer, but definitely in my personal life. I think, I had a lot of growing to do. I had a lot of learning to do of who I was
Mhm.
as a person, the things that I believe, the things I wanted to tell people. Um, and I think it's definitely helped me find confidence. It's helped me trust people. It's helped me learn, I don't know, the perseverance for sure, because there were times where it felt like it would just be easier to give up, like, work-wise, but also, like, mentally, I was like, "Man, this is just really hard, like, I don't wanna do this."
Yeah.
And sometimes the best things that are worth having come after a lot of hard work, and, I've worked a lot on my mental health, and I really am, I think, the healthiest I've ever been with all of that. I'm medication free. I don't struggle as much anymore. God has worked a lot on my heart and healed me from a lot of things
Yeah.
emotionally. And I got to marry my husband during all of that, and I've found a voice to be able to encourage others. And before, like, I was just fighting for myself on the daily,
Yeah.
and I don't have to fight for to have a voice or to even feel seen, or I don't know, there was just a lot of stuff that I just ended up making myself feel miserable for a really long time. And
Yeah.
throughout this whole process, me trying to share my story, the things that I have overcome, the things that I've healed from or see my friends healed from, I think talking about those helped me, I don't know, heal somewhat more because you're focusing on the good things, you're focusing on the beautiful things in life. And so
Mhm.
if you're doing that, you're focusing on helping people, you don't have a lot of time to then just sit and fester on this
Yeah.
stuff. And it took a lot of hard work, it took a lot of scary steps, but I think that's the biggest thing is just being in a better place where I can talk about these places that I was in without like, identifying with them anymore, because when I was struggling with depression, like, it was just so easy to be like, "Oh, well, I'm a depressed person." It's like, "No, you're just a person who lives with depression. You're just a person who struggles with depression, but that doesn't make you who you are." You
Right.
are a person behind all of these struggles, and that person is so valuable and it's so special, and it's important to highlight that person and to not get stuck and drowned out by these either sicknesses or these different disorders that you're struggling with. Those don't define you. They don't make you who you are. And
Right.
I think that's helped me, just be able to speak into other people's lives and hopefully encourage them.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. And I tell people all the time, like I don't make music myself. I just react to music. But I tell people in reactions a lot, especially if I'm listening to a song that's like really emotional or gets into me emotionally. I'm like, music's therapeutic, man. Like it
Hmm.
really can help you get through a really rough spot in your life, especially if the song really speaks to you. And so, I mean, I just tell people all the time, like, music's very powerful, man. It
Yeah.
really is.
And I think it breaks down walls too, because it makes it a little bit easier sometimes for people to talk about something if they could be like, oh, this
Yeah.
song is literally what I'm going through.
Yeah, exactly. And they can identify with it. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so your debut album, "The Heart That Bloomed After Death," touches on heavy themes like mental health and self-worth. How do you protect your own mental space when you're performing such emotionally raw material night after night?
I think the biggest thing that is somewhat of a shield for me is the people that I have in my life. You know,
Yeah,
we are traveling together and I get to be with my husband all the time. I get to be with my best friends. My in-laws are awesome and they're making sure that, you know, I'm
right.
not overextending myself. And you know, when we go out on stage, it's like, okay, well, this is the time to just leave everything on stage. And then when we go talk, like be present with people, have compassion, have patience. And then when you get back to the bus, it's like, okay, now you can decompress. If there are
Yeah.
wacky stories you had, now is the time to share them. If you had like this crazy conversation and hopefully somebody's life was changed, let's talk about that and let's highlight that and make sure
Yeah,
people are knowing who to pray for. People are knowing like, "Oh, let's celebrate because that's awesome." And just hearing how your music has helped or affected people is always a huge encouragement. And then when we make sure when we have days off, you know, we are spending time with each other, not working because we want to make
right,
sure that
right,
it's always a big family atmosphere out here. And we don't want people to just come out here and feel like they have to work all the time. It's like, no, like you guys are not just our family, not just our friends who like end up working together. We want to continue to be friends even outside of this. Even if we weren't playing music, would we still hang out? It's like, yes, of course. So let's make sure we
right.
are continuing to harness those relationships. And you know, I have everybody on the bus is constantly pouring into me and encouraging me, keeping me accountable on things that they know that I've struggled with, things that they know mentally that I need a little bit more support on. And, you know, I'm able to do that for other people on the bus as well. And it really is this just big support system that has become my family. And it's so crazy because I would not have known how to do that with basically strangers even three
Yeah.
years ago. And I don't know, it's just this really cool thing to be able to have a support system to fall back to.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I can imagine, like, just like you said, having that comfort of knowing, like, I have my husband here. I have, all these people that are just amazing, that really support me and want to see me succeed. I can imagine that just really boosts your confidence a lot.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. So you've worked with heavy hitters like Under Oath and producer Jeff Dunn. Is there a specific piece of advice or a technique you picked up from them that has permanently changed how you work in the studio?
I think when working with Jeff Dunn especially, he was very good about pulling us out of our comfort zone, and
Mhm.
that's something hard to do when a lot of stuff is just remote. You know, we never got to go up to his studio because we were recording things in between tours and having to go back on tour. And so, you know, when you are talking with a producer over the phone or through email, you know, you have to make sure that stuff is good before we go back out on tour
Right,
because you
right,
don't really have the option to re-record it. And so I think he was really good about making sure we were able to pull out the best takes and you know don't cut any corners and making sure like hey if you want this specific sound get as many perfect takes of that as possible and it's so
right.
tedious but he was so good about making sure to work with the best of our abilities and really just taking what we gave him and breathing a whole new life into it, which was awesome. And it was the same kind of situation with Spencer Chamberlain from Under Oath. You know, he was
Mhm.
on a different tour, we were on a different tour, and so we were sending him ideas, and he recorded it in a hotel room with a studio setup that he brought to be mobile, and it was all through email and like phone calls and stuff. And so like we never even met in person, but
Oh,
you know,
man.
just getting those tracks sent to us, getting the vocal tracks, we just sat in the front lounge and we're like, "There's no way this is real," because all of
Yeah.
us grew up listening to Under Oath, and, just to hear that voice on our song was like, "Oh my goodness, what is going on?"
Yeah,
But
that's cool. That's really cool.
yeah, it definitely helped us realize nothing is too big to dream. Sometimes you just have to go for it. The worst they can do is either say no or not answer. And
Exactly. Yeah. And you never know until you try. So,
yeah.
okay. All right. So you've mentioned that having your husband on the road is like having a built-in best friend. What's your favorite non-music activity to do together when you find a rare day off in a random city?
We really like going to these places called hot pot restaurants, and they are basically, I don't, the easiest way to describe them is like a custom ramen shop, but they're
Oh,
a lot
okay.
more
Okay,
than
it's like a
that.
noodle
Like,
shop. Kind of like a
yeah,
noodle
like
shop.
you get a broth, and then there, a lot of the really cool ones have, like, conveyor belts with either noodles or vegetables or stuff, and then you go to a different counter and you pick out what meat you want, and then you just throw it all in this pot and you cook them. And some of them have, like, the barbecue plate so you can, like, grill your own meat too, and they always have really fun, like, boba drinks and stuff, and we love to explore all of those and just, I don't know, we both love eating a lot, and so it's always
That
good, like, when you're used to tour food and you're like, "Let's get some real
Oh
food for"
yeah, yeah, definitely. Or especially like, let's go get something that we want to eat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm done with sandwiches for a little while.
Our big
Uh,
thing is chicken nuggets in the freezer because they're easy to cook really fast, and so it's like,
oh
"Let's
yeah,
eat something
yeah,
that's not a chicken nugget for the first
yeah.
time this week."
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine. Oh my god, I would be like, yeah, I need some noodles, I need some pizza, I need something different, or
Something.
maybe not pizza, but yeah. Oh man, that's cool though, because like I haven't been to a ramen or a noodle shop, but there's one in like not far from where I live in Tupelo, and like we've been wanting to go, and we just haven't been able to have a chance to go. But definitely want to go check it out. It's anime inspired, so
The
like
Yeah, that's so
yeah,
cool.
yeah. So it has like a lot of like Dragon Ball Z and like all kinds of different animes in there. So like we've always wanted to go check it out. But yeah, that's really cool. All right, so when you finally get home and the gear is unpacked, what is the first normal thing you look forward to doing that has nothing to do with the music industry?
Um, Me and my husband are big gamers, so
Oh, really?
every once in a while when we get
Okay.
home, we will just spend the whole day in bed just playing video games. Like, let's just turn my brain off for a second
Yeah.
and just do something that is fun, and we will get back to work tomorrow, and
Yeah,
we'll just
exactly.
play games. And especially, if his brothers are home, they do a lot of traveling as well, and so if they're home, we get everybody on any sort of game together. It's so loud, but it's so much fun.
I would imagine. So, like, what's your preferred console? Is it like Nintendo Switch, PS5, Xbox?
It changes. So on the bus, it's a little bit easier. We have a Switch that we all pitched in to get so we can play Mario Kart, or
Oh, okay.
Mario Party is another fun one that we do. We like to get the ones that have a lot of players. But at home, we do a lot of Xbox gaming, and
Gotcha.
we I invested and my husband invested on getting a little, like, I have a little laptop and he has a PC, so we can play some PC games as
Oh,
well.
okay.
So we do a lot of multiplayer games because his cousin's really good. So we get a whole group of people in there, and yeah, it's
So,
just
so,
fun.
so do y'all see it? So do y'all do Fortniting?
We That used to be a big one. We kind of revolve. So we Fortnite was big for a while with our group, and then every once in a while you'll like hit your yearly Minecraft run where you can only play Minecraft and that's all you want to do.
Yeah.
Um, and then we'll do the sharpshooter games. We recently got into Forza, so we've been doing a lot of racing, and then there's other, like, they call them like friend swap games or whatever, and they're like little cute characters, and you have to either climb a mountain together or you have to get your RV down the mountain together somehow.
Oh,
Those ones
okay.
are really
Interesting.
fun because the mechanics are so clunky and it's just chaos the whole time.
But at least you're having fun. That's the
It's
that's
so
the big
fun.
thing. Yeah. All right. So you often speak about being mentored by older brothers and uncles in the scene. Who is one person outside of the music world who keeps you grounded and reminds you who you are away from the spotlight?
There is actually, so I ended up not going to church for a while because I just dealt with a lot of church hurt growing up, and I was kind of scared to put
Yeah.
myself out there. And my husband's grandmas were really adamant about us trying this church when I moved up to Tennessee. And they're like, "We've told them all about you. They love you so much and they want to meet you, our only granddaughter. You're our only granddaughter now." And
Yeah.
um, so I was like, "Okay, well, we'll go." Just to make them happy. And we really just ended up falling in love with all the people there. And that church has been so welcoming to us. And now when we're home, we're actually able to go a lot more, and it's healed a lot of my, like, perspective of church. It's healed a lot of my relationship with just church in
Right.
general. And our pastor is really good about keeping up with us, and he'll reach out to us when we're on the road. He comes over and gets tattoos from my father-in-law when we're home.
That's
And
cool. That's really
it's
cool.
just he's very he's very involved, and I think that's really cool because sometimes pastors can be a little bit distant, or especially with bigger churches, it's not really realistic for them to be able to keep up with
Right.
people.
Yeah.
Um, but even as our church is growing, he's made it a point to be very involved and, um, I don't know, just cheer us on from a different part of life. And
Right.
when I made a post about all the controversy stuff that happened, he immediately texted me and my husband and was like, "What can I do for you guys? Where can I pray for you? How can we support you in this time?" And it's just cool to have somebody who is outside of music stuff but still supports you in that way, still wants to be involved, still wants to
Yeah.
encourage and find a way to help out. And he actually let us do a live stream concert at the church and use their, like, fancy cameras and stuff because I was just gonna
Oh,
use my
wow.
iPhone camera.
Yeah, that was nice.
And,
That's nice.
yeah, so they just I think him and his family would be a big one who's just very big about encouraging us, especially when we get home, and we're able to be there in person. But even when we're
Right.
on the road, getting texts and getting calls and hearing from people from the church has been really cool.
Okay, awesome. All right, so if you weren't a musician, what career do you think you'd be pursuing right now?
I think I would probably be working in some sort of counseling field. Um,
Yeah.
Whenever we started touring and talking to people at the table, I realized how many hurting people connect with rock music. And we would have all these conversations with people. And before I went to any sort of schooling, I would all I really had was to offer to pray for them. And I think that's super powerful. But when we
Mm,
play in clubs and places that aren't churches where people probably aren't the majority of them aren't Christian, some of them get uncomfortable and they don't want prayer. And so I didn't have anything to offer them after that. And so I thought it would be really important for me to go to school and learn how to have extra tools to use. And
right.
um, so I went and got my master's in crisis counseling. And so if I wasn't doing music, I think I would still be involved in that area some way, because I had to intern at a therapist's office in order to graduate. And
Mhm.
it's a lot of, like, similar conversations you're having just on a more, like, clinical level, and
Right.
you go more in depth with people. And I don't know, I think it's really cool to be able to do life with people in that way, and to encourage and to be able to speak with people and let people know that they're seen. And I think it's a similar thing to what we're doing with our music, just approached in a different way, in a more long
Yeah.
form way. And so I think that would be probably where I would end up, somewhere in that category.
Okay. Okay. All right. Interesting. I didn't know. I didn't even know that you had your master. So, well, one, congratulations. That's an amazing
Thank you.
achievement there too. All right. So, what is one book or movie that has had a profound impact on how you see the world?
Hmm, that's a really good one. Oh, I don't know. My goodness. Um, so I read a lot of, like, fantasy stuff and stuff that's, like, not
Right.
real, but it also still kind of helps shape the way you see things. Oh my goodness, I'm not gonna be able to know.
Oh, I didn't mean to put you like on a huge spot or anything. I was just
These questions are always so hard for me. Like, anything that has to do with movies or books, I just if we're not talking in an interview, I'll have a whole plethora of stuff to reach from. The second an interview
right,
comes up,
right.
it's just like, "You've never read anything, you've never watched a movie in your life."
Yeah, you're just like, I knew this a minute ago and now I can't think of it.
Yeah, all of my memories are just wiped at the moment. Oh my goodness.
Like for me personally, like I'm kind of like you. I like a lot of the like the sci-fi fantasy kind of stuff. Lord of the Rings. The first time I read those books, it was just really incredible. The Chronicles of Narnia. I loved all of
Mhm.
those books too. And there's a lot of like underlying issues and the way that they deal with things in those books that aren't necessarily highlighted in the movies, but if you read the books, you get a lot more detail about situations and the way that they handle them. And I think it's just incredible how an author can take, like you said, like fictional characters in a mythical place essentially, and relay real life situations to you that you could relate to like right now. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I just think that's really deep.
Yeah, it's so cool, and, like, stuff like The Hunger Games, I was so
Oh
obsessed with
yeah,
them. I
yeah,
have the new ones that I still need to read, um, but I don't know, just seeing I don't know, I like a lot of them where maybe it's just because I felt like I didn't have a voice when I was a young girl, but when
yeah,
young girls feel like they can find a place to stand up for themselves or to stand up and be sort of a voice for people, I really like those, it just I think maybe gave me a little bit more confidence as a young teenage girl to be like, "Okay, well, maybe I can make a difference." You know, this fictional character who literally doesn't exist can lead a whole revolution. Maybe as a young girl, I can, like, stand up just for myself. Like
right, right, right. And whenever you said Hunger Games, you were speaking my daughter's language then because she's absolutely obsessed with the books and all of the movies. Like she's like really wanting to see the new one now, and but like she's 18, so it's like that's just like right up her alley and everything. So yeah,
Yeah, I still need to see the new ones. I have the new ones on my shelf. I need to read them, because it's just I was so obsessed with all of that. I still am, if you can't
yeah, yeah.
tell.
All right, that's cool. Okay, all right. So you've gone from being in a band with your sisters at 11 years old to touring the country with your husband. If you could go back and tell that 11-year-old version of yourself one thing about the journey ahead, what would it be?
I think I would tell her to just stick with it, and it's gonna get weird and confusing for a little bit, but there is so much awesome things that are in store for you, and there are so many things that you never would have thought you'd be able to do, bands you never would have thought you could meet or play shows with, and it's all gonna be worth it. All the hard times, all the struggles, it's all gonna be worth it. So just keep fighting and just know that one day you will get to a spot where you're like, "Oh my goodness, I think I made it." Like, I think I'm
Yeah,
doing it. I think this is my dream coming true, and that's really how I feel right now. There's still so much for us to do. There's so much for us to grow with, but we are on our way of literally just I'm living out my childhood dream, and so I would definitely tell her, "Just keep keep pushing through no matter how hard it gets because there's something great waiting for you."
that's awesome. Yeah, and like the trajectory that you could potentially have is just astronomical because like I said, you're such an amazing artist and your music speaks to people and you have such an incredible voice and being able to do it with people that you love and care about is just that I can imagine that's just the icing on the cake right there. So
Yeah, I could not ask for a better group of people to be out with, a better place to have landed, like, I'm
yeah.
so blessed beyond measure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All right, so you often talk about your fans as a community. When you eventually look back on your career decades from now, what do you want the Magdalene Rose legacy to be known for beyond just the music?
I really want it to be something where people come together and they've learned how to speak about things that they're struggling with. They learned how to be open, but they've also learned how to support each other. And I think life is, not just about you, it's about the people who are in your life. And I think it's important to highlight them and to work with other people. And, it can be so easy when you're in the middle of your struggle to only focus on like, how can people help me? But I hope with our music, we help people turn it turn that kind of around and be like, "How can I help others?" I've had
Right.
other people come alongside and lift me up, so now it's my turn to do my part and lift somebody else up.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. For anyone watching this who feels like they are in a winter season, lost, struggling with identity, or stuck in a dark place, what is one small step they can take today to start finding their way back to the light?
I think the biggest thing is just, you know, making the first right step, and sometimes that's the hardest, not sitting in guilt, not saying, "Okay, well, this is all I'll ever be because I messed up, because I'm struggling, and, like, I'll never be able to find my way out," and sometimes the hardest first step is to say, like, "No, I will get out of this somehow," and
Right,
working on your mindset, working on your heart, because that if that is never fixed, you can do all the right things. You can take all the right steps, but eventually you'll find yourself back in there because you never solved the root of the problem. And so I
exactly.
think that
Yeah,
the best thing to do is start working on your mind and changing that perspective, telling yourself that it's possible. There is hope. There is a way out, and I don't know how, but I'm gonna get there, and
right,
trying to somewhat convince yourself that that's true. That's something I had to do because I didn't believe that for a long time, and, I knew who God was. I had a relationship with him, but I still felt like I didn't have hope, and had to kind of get out of the way of myself because I was stopping a lot of that progress from happening because I told myself it would never happen, and you have
right.
to you have to switch that. You have to believe that you can get better. You have to believe that there's hope.
Yeah, you have to change your mindset.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. That's the most important step right there, because like you said, until you actually decide to change your mind, and then like in turn let God change your heart, you're gonna just get stuck right back in the same ruts that you were in. So yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So that's all the questions I had. But okay, so you're on the road. You're touring right now with the band with 7 Day Slumber. Are you currently working on any new music?
We are, yes. So we have a lot of songs that are kind of either halfway done or just ideas started or
Mhm.
almost done. And so we're excited to finalize some things and start releasing them. So I have no dates yet, but I'm hoping very soon we're able to start getting some new stuff out there.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So that's what you're gonna be working on when you get off a tour.
Yeah, so we
Some
are every time we get back from tour, we've been adding a little extra work to some of these songs. So I'm hoping that we get home, I think in the middle of May, and we've got a few days home. So I'm hoping we can just kind of bury our heads in that and get something done.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with me today and interviewing. It was amazing just sitting down and talking to you and getting to know you a little bit better as a person and not just as the artist. Um, is there any potential to maybe down the road another interview, sit down and talk some more about your music?
Yeah, as soon as I have some music that is ready to go, I will let you know and we can get on here and talk about it and you maybe get a reaction. And when it comes out, that would be really cool.
Okay, yeah, awesome. Well, I would definitely, because I know you have more music on YouTube that I haven't reacted to. I'm gonna definitely be reacting to some more of your stuff because, like I said, you're amazing. I love the story behind you. I love the fact that you rely so much on God and your relationship with God is so important to you. That really means a lot to me as a fellow Christian. So I really like taking the time and highlighting artists that have that incredible messaging. So thank you so much for sending out. I know you're probably super busy and you probably need to go do sound check and all that stuff and everything and get ready. So I'm sorry I held you so long, but thank you for sitting down and talking with me today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It has been so much fun.
All right. Well, thanks, Magdalene and or Maggie, and we'll see you later. Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.